Okay, students, so today we're going to talk about the word integrity. Integrity, it says Spanish translation, integridad. And so, one definition and the most common definition I would say for this word is basically if someone has integrity, that person is, you can trust that person, they're honest, they're a good person, they're loyal, and that person will do the right thing in difficult situations where there's might be a tentacion to do something that's not moral. Someone who has integrity will always do the right thing. That's what integrity means: doing the right thing, standing up for what is right, even if it's difficult. So, and lack means falta. So the sentence to that people will copy on their cards for this word is this one. Shauna showed a lack of integrity, una falta de integridad, when she copied text from the internet into her essay without citing the source or using quotation marks. And this is something that we like to repeat a lot because we know that people can get tempted to copy things from the internet, um, but I always tell my students I would rather have you take the time and turn in your own work, even if it ends up being a little bit late, rather than copying something, turning it in on time. And but if you copy something, you didn't do the work, you don't understand what it means, and you're not showing integrity. So integrity is like honesty, because if you copy from the internet, you're stealing somebody else's idea, and that person gets no credit for it. So that's not honest. That's not a moral thing to do. So if a person does this, that would be a lack, una falta de integrity. It's like the opposite of integrity. So let's look at the next. The next slide has the definitions for the word. So the worst definition we were looking at, the first one is this one: the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. And let's before I forget, let's pronounce the word. The word is integrity, integrity, integrity. I will say sometimes in an American accent, native speakers will pronounce a T like a D. And this is a case where if you listen to how I actually say the word, I turn this T into a D instead of a T. I say integrity. But the word has a T there. That's the thing with an American accent, that we change it into a D. So if you say integrity, that's perfect. But I wanted to tell you that some native speaking English speakers will say integrity instead of integrity. But the important point there too is that the stress is on the integrity, integrity. So, and definition one, the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. So, like I was saying, someone who's honest, who will do the right thing. Fuertes principios morales, moral principles. And then definition two is about something that is whole, it's all together, and it's not divided. And so that's different from the first one is about people. The second one, not necessarily about people. It can be about things, and just saying that they're all together and they're not divided into parts or pieces. It's all together, the whole thing. So let's look at sentences with the word. So the first sentence here with integrity, it says Frederick Douglass was a man with much intellectual and moral integrity, because he was a man who escaped from slavery and then, at a big risk to himself, kept fighting to end slavery, even at one point, because he wrote his book. We learned this if you were in my class when we read Frederick Douglass's narrative last quarter. There was a, or sorry, 2 quarters ago, during quarter two, that's when we read that book, that he after he published the book that we read in class, because he wrote the names of his former owners, then people knew who he was, and they tried to send slave catchers to catch him, and he had to actually run away from the United States, and he had to go to Europe. Otherwise, he would have been put back in slavery. And finally, some people who, because he was famous, people got together money and they went and paid his owners, paid them off, and bought his freedom. And then he came back to the U.S. But that showed a lot of integrity, that he published that book attacking his owners, and that was a risk to his freedom, and it was a risk to his life even. I mean, because if they got him back in slavery, who knows, they could have killed him easily. I mean, just as revenge for what he did for publishing that book. And we saw from the book itself, they were, you killed a slave, nothing would happen to you. They never got punished, pretty much, white people who killed slaves. So that showed a lot of integrity that he published that book even at a big risk to himself. So he wanted to do the right thing no matter what. And he was going to be honest and tell the truth about his life no matter what, even though there was a risk for him. So that's a great example of integrity. Doing the right thing even in a difficult situation. Having strong moral principles. And then definition 2, it says the state of being whole and not divided. So there's a sentence here copied from Google, and see it's in quotation marks. So Mr. Romo is letting you know that he copied it. He's being honest about it. He's showing integrity. It says internal racial unrest threatened the integrity of the federation. So a federation is something is together. So this is, I'm not sure if the sentence was written specifically about the United States, but it could be. If you look at the picture, what it's saying is that this is leading up to the Civil War, that the North and the South were divided in the United States. Why? Because of racial unrest, racial problems about slavery. So the integrity of the country used to be all together. The integrity of the country was threatened, había una amenaza to the integrity of the country because it got split into the North and the South wanted to make its own country, the Confederate States, right? Because they wanted to keep slavery. That's a big reason why. So because of racial problems, racial unrest, that divided the United States. And it says the disunited states. So integrity would be holding it together. I'll tell you another way this word is used with this meaning is structural integrity. Structural integrity means if like a building, the parts of a building can all hold together and not fall apart, or a bridge or something. But if there are ever cases where like you hear about bridges are not maintained correctly and the bridge breaks and falls into the river or something, they can talk about the structural integrity of the bridge was not strong enough and it broke into pieces instead of being all together. So this is a little bit less common as a meaning, but again, this one is just about something being all together in one piece. De una sola cosa entera y no dividida. That's what this one is. Versus the first one is about morals of a person. There are no word families. Synonyms for integrity: virtue, sincerity, and honesty. Those are synonyms for definition 1. And then antonyms for definition 1 are corruption or dishonor. Also for definition 1. I might say also, it's not on there, but dishonesty. Deshonestidad could be the opposite of integrity because integrity means being honest, and dishonesty is not being honest. So that's about it for integrity. Thank you very much.